Oh, hello. This is Ndidi Adekele on marriage restoration and reconciliation. Today, we want to continue along the lines of homecoming. Yes, we want to avoid false starts as much as possible, and to avoid false starts as much as possible, what we do is prepare for homecoming. How do we do that? I remember during my stand, someone said to me very derisively. She said to me, "So, Ndidi, if he does come home, are you ready for him?" I said, "What do you mean? What do you mean? Please, can you share with me what you mean? Because then my ears will open. Yeah. What do you mean? And she says to me, well, in my home, I make my husband laugh. I bring in drama, I bring in this, I bring in that. And she said it in a very derisive manner, you know, like judgmental, like, come on, you should know better. I mean, is it that, in all of this, are you sure? I mean, you know, almost like saying, you're not good enough. If you don't have it, you don't have it. I mean, because you see, there are some skills that, am I going to become a clown overnight? Am I going to become a jester overnight if I don't know how to be a jester? So and the way she presented it just wasn't nice. But in all of it, I said to myself, and don't let that get to you. Just listen to what she's saying. And I summarize, what do you think she's saying? And I realized that, what can you take out of this? And I realized that what I could take out of it was the fact that, well, there's joy. What she's saying is that joy. There's joy in her home. There's laughter in her home. And I thought to myself, but I had joy in my home. I had laughter in my home. I'm a joyous person. I bring laughter, with me. And I said, but something else said to me, hey, you have joy, you bring laughter. But if this has happened to you, then that means that it's all in your head. Is it possible that it's all in your head? It's all in your mind? Perhaps you're not bringing in as much joy, as much laughter. Or is it possible that having children and the strain of looking after young children, at the time I was homeschooling for a bit, yeah. So, and homeschooling and all of that. Is it possible that with all of that, yeah, you have, there's not as much joy, especially towards your spouse. Your spouse is not feeling as much joy as he used to feel. He's not feeling as much yeah, as much joy and laughter, yeah, as much peace, and airiness as he used to feel, the thing that he desired, that he loved. One of the things he loved the most about you. Is it possible that those things are missing? Is it possible that those things were missing? What can you do to rekindle them? And then the more I came to terms with that, I began to, honest to goodness, take toll, think back, begin to ask myself, hey, okay, think back, what do you think? And then I began to see loopholes. I began to see, first it was tiny holes, then I started to see gaping holes. It became evident to me where my sins of omission, yeah, my sins of omission, if not commission, sins of omission, yeah. So, and the more I saw those, it led me to my knees, like, Lord, help me. Lord, help me. Lord, help me. How do I, rekindle this? I wanted my husband to be home, because to be with me, because he wanted to be with me, not just to come home. I wanted him to obey God, yes, but I wanted him to also be home, because he could walk through the door just because, right back, home, just because he wanted to obey God and still not be happy. I didn't want that. What I really wanted was, I wanted him to obey God, yes, but I didn't want to be the one making it difficult for him to obey God, for him to stay in obedience. I wanted a situation where by the time he walks through the door, I'd have learned much, and I'd have begun to apply so much. I mean, to start with, he fell in love with me in the first place, isn't it? That means I had what it took. That means it's resident within me. So, can I continue to keep that alive? Yeah. Lord, will you help me keep that alive? So, one of the things that the Lord led me to is, he led me to begin to ask myself, who is my husband? What are the things that make him happy? What are the things that are not negotiable for him? What's his personality? Things like Spirit Control Temperament, books like Spirit Control Temperament. We had read those books when we were teenagers, and then we tucked them under the bed somewhere, just tucked them away somewhere. I began to dust it off, like, okay, this book, let's even see. Because we thought then at some point that books like that put you in a box, but I began to realize that no, it's not a putting in a box thing. It's a personality thing, because they are wired this way. This is how they see things. This is how they view things. This is how people view things. This is how different people view different things. I began to, I dusted that off and began to read it. Spirit Control Temperament. I also came across, quite by miracle. Yeah, I came across the book Love and Respect. The way I came across this is a story for another day. But I came across the book Love and Respect. Also came about Five Love Languages. Also Laura Doyle's The Surrendered Wife. Yeah. So how many books have I spoken about now? I've spoken about Spirit Control, Temperament. I've spoken about Laura Doyle's The Surrendered Wife, Five Love Languages by Emerson, Eggerich. Then also um, no, it's Spirit Control. No, it's Love and Respect. That's Emerson Eggerich. Then the Five Love Languages is the last one. Yeah. So these four books, I began to read them. Some of them I watched more of their videos, as in, some book summaries, all these book summaries you see on YouTube, where they do cartoon versions of the book summaries, that you pretty much get the idea, in a shorter while. Yeah. So those of them that had those book summaries, I used them. Then those that had audiobooks, I used them. I would play them to myself, use an MP3 player, play them around the house when I was doing chores, play them, en route anywhere I was going, just play them, listen to them, use earphones, listen to them and all that. So, and then the ones I absolutely totally had to sit down to read, I will sit down to read them. What I'm trying to say is, in case you think, oh, four books are so many, when am I going to cover them? You can use some of these tools to help you help you get a grasp of what they're saying in a shorter while. But in time, you still want to sit down to read the books properly, read the pages of the book properly. And I learned a lot. I learned that men think differently from women. Men don't reason like women, so they receive information, they receive innuendos, they receive body language differently from women. Yes. And also, each man, apart from the fact that men are wired differently from women, I mean, apart from that, there's also the fact that each man is different, is built differently, understands things differently, feels things differently. What some other man will feel, will experience, is not a big deal. Another person will feel it and to almost crush them. So when they scream foul, when such a person screams foul, I can handle this, he's not exaggerating. He's actually telling the truth. Honest to goodness, this is how I feel. I can't handle this. I can't live with this. And you'll be thinking, what did I do? But honest, really, they just couldn't deal. It was literally killing them. That sort of thing. So even you will know some things that other people can deal with that you cannot deal with. So you see, it's a question of different strokes. Yeah, for different folks. So you recognize the fact that they are wired differently as men. They're also wired differently as individuals. Yes. There's something they respond to, and there are things that they respond to, and there are things that we respond to. When you say I love you, there's a way they receive love. It's different from the way we receive love. So by the time I began to really sit down and really look at these books and consider my husband, whom I've lived with for how many years, that we married and lived together as husband and wife for how many years, so because of that, I had the privilege of knowing him, by virtue of knowing, okay, this is who he really is. So I can really identify among, in the pages of those books, where he lies, where, the category in which he falls into, so, and then take it from there. I learned so much. That helped me prepare myself in speech, in word, in deed, in understanding for my husband's homecoming. And today it's a different ballgame altogether. Hoping that he will come around someday to share with us his side of this thing that I'm saying now. God bless.